president underwent something called a CAT scan. That is a very complete, a thorough X-ray, and it indicated that there is no cancer in the bowel area or in any of the organs that might be involved, including the liver. On the political front, Vice President Bush has returned from his summer home in Maine to Washington. He's in his residence there, and NBC News correspondent Andrea Mitchell has learned that President Reagan has signed an informal letter transferring his authority to Vice President Bush. This is not part of the formal transfer of power that would take place under the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. It is part, however, of something called the National Command Authority. That is a regular procedure that goes into effect when the president may be incapacitated in case he has to make a military decision of one kind or another.
Wow. Joining us now, author and NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Also with us, best-selling author and MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter. He's out with a new presidential biography entitled His Very Best, Jimmy Carter, A Life.
Can't wait to talk about that. So exciting. Let's start, though, with you, Michael Beschloss. We actually saw in that clip, we saw it again during the Bush 43 administration, actually order when it comes to presidential succession, right. Even temporary presidential succession. We're seeing absolutely nothing here like that. We shouldn't expect to. We've seen a lot of lies. Now we're hearing Meadows saying Trump may go back to the White House today.
Well, it's the opposite of what we saw with George W. Bush. And by the way, I'm having a wonderful time reading John's new book on the underestimated Jimmy Carter. So I'll take a couple of minutes now away from the book. But you know, Joe, that's exactly right. George W. Bush did this in a grown-up, wise way. 2 colonoscopies, 2002, 2007. He signed formal letters saying, I'm going under anesthesia. I want to cede my power to Dick Cheney while I'm not available, then take it back afterwards. That's what the 25th Amendment was designed to do. Instead, you've got Mike Pence traveling all over the place, appearing in a vice presidential debate on Wednesday night. For instance, if I could ask the question, why are we having a vice presidential debate with the 2 candidates in the same room with their same studio, with their entourages and guests after everything we've learned this week? Why can't it be done virtually? That's what was done in the 3rd Kennedy-Nixon debate, with much more primitive technology in 1960.
It seems just absolutely insane, just sheer idiocy, supreme idiocy. And Mika, this has happened before.
2 other times presidents have stayed at Walter Reed. President Lyndon Johnson invited cameras into his hospital room after he underwent a gallbladder operation in 1965. In the middle of the Watergate scandal, Richard Nixon was treated at the hospital for viral pneumonia in July of 1973.
Michael Beschloss, again, though, there was even more openness in those instances, and also, again, with Reagan in 85, than there has been here. Again, we're guessing. The doctors have admitted now that they've been lying to us for the past 2 or 3 days.
Right, and you just have to take a look at history. The lesson from everything that's happened with presidents and medical problems over the last 200 years is have your doctors and your staff tell the absolute truth to the public. Do it because it's their obligation as people who work for all of us Americans, but also do it because it's best for the president. If you lie, it leads to ugly rumors about how severe the illness really is that's being covered up, perhaps. And the other thing is that presidents get better medical care when their people are being honest with the public.
Yeah, hey, Jonathan Alter, we are a very, very long way from the president who got elected by saying, I will never tell a lie.
Right. And he did not. And, you know, I think his honesty, his seriousness of purpose, that is a great example and an inspiration to us in this time when we're like a spacecraft that is re-entering the Earth's atmosphere and rattling it on fire. And we're hoping that it'll touch down safely in the ocean, you know, in November, but we don't know. So Carter is the complete opposite of that. And just to give you a health example, in 1978, Jimmy Carter found that he was suffering from very painful hemorrhoids, and he had to miss a couple of days' work. And the White House wanted to put out a statement saying, President is indisposed, vague statement. And Carter said, no, this will rattle markets. It'll cause us problems internationally. You must be totally honest about what my problem is, even though it's embarrassing to me. The presidency needs honesty. So they put out a statement saying that he was suffering from hemorrhoids.
Yeah, so, Jonathan, Mika and I may be a little impartial here, especially you look at the pictures of Dr. Brzezinski, and you can probably guess why. But it seems to me, just finishing my story on Harry Truman and the Truman Doctrine, that it's one of the great ironies of modern American history, post-war history, that three of the most effective presidents in foreign policy were only elected one time. Harry Truman, of course, in 48, Jimmy Carter in 76, and George H.W. Bush in 88. You look at Jimmy Carter's record on the opening to China. You look at what Jimmy Carter did with the Camp David Accords. That ended a generation of war between Arab and Israeli states on the ground, and we haven't had a ground war between those two since. The further we get away from Jimmy Carter's presidency, the more impactful and historical it becomes.
Absolutely. And, just to take one of the things that Mika's father, Zbigniew Brzezinski, was involved in, China, recognizing China, Jimmy Carter and Deng Xiaoping established what is now the most important bilateral relationship in the world. At that time, China had a GDP that of sub-Saharan Africa. Now, the global economy was basically established because we normalized relations with China and everything that's flowed from that. Carter thinks that might be his most lasting accomplishment. You mentioned Camp David. This is the most enduring peace treaty since World War II. Very significant in stopping the bloodshed in the Middle East. Then, the Panama Canal treaties, people go, well, was that big of a deal? Yes, prevented a huge war in Central America. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said they would have had to send over 100,000 troops to be there in perpetuity with a kind of a Vietnam in our own backyard if Carter had not managed against great odds to get that through. And then the one that I think he will probably be most remembered for is his human policy, which was hypocritical in certain respects. And my book is warts and all. But what it did is it set for the first time a global standard for how governments should treat their people. And it helped kick off democratic revolution around the world, which even though we now have some authoritarian in several countries, we're still way better off. And of course, his successors all picked up on his standing up for American values with that human rights policy. But this guy led a novelistic life. And beyond his presidency, it's an American epic. And so what I try to do in this book is take him from being a barefoot boy with no electricity to the amazing love letters, steamy love letters to his wife, and then all the way through the Jim Crow South, really period, to the present.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, unfortunately, we're over the top of the hour. So what we're going to do, I'd love to ask you and Michael Beschloss and Caddy and Jonathan Lemire with his Alfred Hitchcock lighting to please come back tomorrow, continue talking about this. It's a fascinating story. And tomorrow what we're going to do is a little twist. We're going to turn off our phone alerts. That does it for us this morning. Stephanie Ruhle picks up the coverage right now. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.